What's up, YouTube? If you're new to the channel, I'm the side gig guy that takes extra money from side gigs, invests it into stocks and options, hopefully gives you some helpful tips to grow your money along the way. So today, I'm going to share with you the one piece of advice and the mistake you cannot make if you're thinking about buying a Tesla for some sort of side gig work or full-time work. This is critical. You can't miss this, and you don't want to make this mistake. I've owned a Tesla now for going on 5 years. I've got about 70,000 miles on this Model 3. I love it. It's a great car. I'm going to state the obvious. If you're looking to get a new car, you better be able to afford it. So if you're thinking about buying a Tesla and you think, oh, it's going to cost less and I'm just going to be able to make higher margins because Teslas are cheaper to run than gas cars, and you can't afford it, I'm going to give you the same advice that my college statistics professor had when half the class made a really bonehead mistake on the exam. If you're thinking about doing that and you can't afford a Tesla or a new car, I think you need to go home. You need to walk into your closet, shut the door, and slap yourself across the face, because that's probably one of the stupidest things you can do, is buying a car that you can't afford. That's not the one piece of advice that I'm going to give you, or that's not the mistake you could make, even though that's a pretty big one. That should be number one. But I think this advice was motivated when I was taking a Lyft ride. I was in the backseat of the Lyft for once. I wasn't actually driving somebody around, and we struck up a conversation. And he was asking the driver about, why I was going to rent a car. I have a Tesla, but on some road trips, in this particular one, I was on my way up to Sedona, Arizona. So for people who've been up there, it's kind of a mountainous terrain. There's a lot of fun hiking things to do and some really, cool things you can do off-road, and really not a place I want to bring my Model 3 sometimes. You really never know what you're going to get into, and I've had some interesting experiences where I've gotten into places where I maybe don't want to be driving this car. So I rented an SUV for this trip. I let the driver know, yeah, I have a Tesla, but I'm going to rent this car. He immediately perked up and started asking me a bunch of questions. How do you like the Tesla? All the sorts of questions that, if you're a Tesla owner watching this, you've probably gotten them too from somebody, interested in hearing about the car. I proceeded to tell him like all the good things I really like about the car, and a few little bad things here and there. But, in terms of the gas or electricity, obviously it can't be beat. I mean, it's super cheap to charge this car. That's one of the main reasons I like using it, especially for side gig. If you go to the supercharger and charge, I think it's probably about, depending on when you charge, because it can be different, charging rates at different times of the day. So it can be anywhere from, $10 to $18 to charge your car up, which is pretty good. And the model I have, you get over 300 miles to the gallon. So you could practically drive all week on that before the battery goes dead. That's one super nice plus I talked to him about, and I think that that's what he was thinking is, oh well, yeah, it's super cheap, I'm going to save on gas. The maintenance is incredible. In the 5 years I've had this car, I've replaced the windshield wipers, which was I think $50 because I bought the upgraded ones from Tesla and they charge a lot of money for those. I've gotten 2 air filters, which I think were $70 a piece. The maintenance on is pretty cool. When you have something like an air filter or something else you need to change in the car, you book an appointment in the app, and the Tesla guys and girls actually drive over to your car at home or at your work, and they replace whatever you need in the car, and you don't even have to take it into the shop or anything. They just do it while you're at work or wherever you are. So it's super convenient. I really like that. That's another really cool thing. You don't have to send it to the dealer and get a rental car if you have a problem. What else? We did windshield wipers, the air filters. The tires were a little expensive, so those are more expensive than a normal car. They have this foam in there that, you know, I don't know if it does anything, but it's supposed to make it quieter. So I think I got those from Costco. That was like $1,200. So that kind of a big expense that you wouldn't have maybe if you have like a Honda Civic or something like that. But you know, if you have a truck or a nice car, you're gonna pay for nice tires. What else? I think a little clip in the head visor broke, where, you know, you drop it down and it shields the sun. I think a clip broke. They came out and they fixed that, and it was like $1.75. So the maintenance prices are really cool. So I guess that wasn't covered under warranty, but they drive up to your house, replace it, and it's like a couple bucks. So really the maintenance is outrageously cheap. Now I've had it 5 years. Maybe in, you know, 10 years, 15 years, maybe when like the motors or batteries or something crazy go out, you know, that might cost a little bit more. Yeah, and I just kept rattling on a lot of the, you know, really cool things. But, you know, we got to the point in the conversation where I could tell he was interested, but I'm gonna now give you kind of the one thing you really need to think about if you're considering getting, you know, any model Tesla or any electric vehicle for that matter. I think it's probably the most overlooked, and unless you've actually owned an EV, you're really not gonna fully appreciate how important this is. So the question I asked him, and the mistake that you really need to be careful about and seriously consider before you get one of these, is I asked him what his living situation was. And he explained that he lived in an apartment. And that right there, in my opinion, is the number one mistake you can make if you're going to buy an electric vehicle, is not being able to charge your car at your place of residence or where you live. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be at a house in your garage. But for instance, right now I live in a condo, and I'm really fortunate because I have a utility shed with an outlet that was installed, and I can run an extension cord right out to my car and charge it. Now I can tell you, you know, I've lived in multiple states with this car. If you think you're going to get this car and you're going to drive over to a supercharger every time you need to charge this car, you're making the biggest mistake you could ever make. My advice to him was, make sure you have a place at your house where you sleep or wherever you sleep that you can charge this car. Not only is it going to be a lot cheaper than going to the supercharger, you know, the supercharger is not that much, but just the level of inconvenience of having to always plan around keeping the car charged, and you know, because you never know when something's going to come up. You might need to go pick somebody up 20, 30 miles away whenever, and if you don't have the car charged, you got to run over there 10, 15 minutes. Doesn't seem like a lot, but after 3, 4, 5 years of having to do that, it really starts to get annoying. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. I have lived without charging at my house before, and that's why I can say, you know, I've lived with both. I've lived with a fast charger. Right now I use a kind of a trickle charger. So, you know, the plugs that you would plug your, you know, your lamp in, your iPhone in, that's how I charge my car. And that's enough, honestly, for the amount I drive. You know, I do side gigs, you know, once, twice a week, and I drive around to the grocery store or whatever, go to the gym, you know, I might go out, grab a drink or something, or food. That little tiny, you know, trickle charger that you can get, that's plenty. I don't really ever need to go to the supercharger, even just with that trickle charger. So even that can be enough. You don't need the whole setup where you have the Tesla charger on the wall, or the, you know, the 240 outlet for the dryer. Those are great because then you can charge the car in, you know, 4 or 5 hours. But you know, if you don't do a lot of driving and you're not a commuter and you're not doing this full time, then you know, you can get by with just the the simple charging cord. If you're gonna drive this car full time and you're thinking about full time gigging in this thing, yeah, you definitely better get the 240 outlet in your house. I think it depends on where your electricity box is as to how much it's going to cost for the electrician to do that. But in the old place I was staying, I think it cost $150 to wire in one of those, so it's super cheap. But again, that's really only if you're driving a lot. At that time I was doing a lot of Lyft, and you put a lot more miles on your car on Lyft than you do on something like DoorDash or some kind of food delivery app or something like that. So something to really consider. Think about what that is. What I'd say is, it's not like going to the gas station when you go charge your car at the supercharger. It does take 20-30 minutes, and yeah, you can go into the mall or go get something to eat, but that's just extra money you're gonna end up spending while you're sitting there charging your car. So it's cool. If you've rented a car or used one, it doesn't seem like that much of an inconvenience. But like I said, after 2, 3, 4 years of that, you're gonna wish you never did that. So, I have nothing but great things to say about this Tesla. I love this car, and I think it's enhanced because I have at-home charging. So, if you're considering getting a Tesla, take that seriously in mind, and it might be worth moving into a place where you can charge before you make that decision to get a Tesla. So hopefully you found that advice useful. Until next time, can't wait to see you guys again, and look forward to one of my month 2 updates for how we're doing with our side gig earnings investing. So we're doing really good, and I'm excited to share those updates. So have a great evening now, and see you soon.